In the early 14th century, when European kingdoms were constantly fighting for power, one woman rose to become one of the most feared figures of her time. History remembers her as the She-Wolf of France. Her real name was Queen Isabella of France, a woman whose beauty, intelligence, and ambition shaped the destiny of England in a way no one could ever forget. Her story begins with a marriage that was supposed to unite two powerful nations. Isabella was a French princess, raised among royalty and trained in politics from childhood. She married the King of England, Edward II, with the hope that together they would rule a strong and stable kingdom. But the moment she entered the English court, she realized that her husband's heart and loyalty already belonged elsewhere. King Edward II was deeply attached to his favorite companion, Piers Gaveston. He trusted him blindly, ignored the advice of his nobles, and even sidelined his own queen. Isabella watched silently as her influence and respect faded. The English nobles grew angry, the people complained, and even the royal family felt humiliated. But Edward refused to change, and Isabella found herself trapped in a marriage where she was queen in name only. When Piers Gaveston was eventually captured and killed by angry nobles, Isabella hoped her marriage would improve. But instead, another man replaced Gaveston. His name was Hugh Despenser, and he was far more dangerous. Despenser treated Isabella with open disrespect. He seized lands, punished anyone who opposed him, and gained total control over the king. Even the queen's personal possessions were taken from her. Her children were removed from her side. She was isolated, watched, humiliated, and silenced. This was the moment when something changed inside Isabella. She was no longer willing to accept a powerless life. She was a princess of France, and she knew how to fight back. In 1325, Isabella traveled to France on a political mission. But secretly, she had a different plan. In France, she met a man who would change her fate forever, Roger Mortimer. Mortimer was a nobleman who had escaped from the Tower of London after rebelling against King Edward. He was bold, skilled, and charismatic. Isabella saw in him a partner, not just in politics, but in ambition. The two formed a powerful alliance. Some say they also became lovers, though history cannot prove it for certain. What is certain is that together they planned the downfall of Edward II and the destruction of the Despenser family. Isabella began raising support from European lords. She gathered soldiers, money, and ships. And in 1326, she launched an invasion of England. The moment she arrived, people rushed to her side. The nobles, the commoners, even the soldiers were tired of Despenser's cruelty and the king's weakness. Edward and Hugh Despenser tried to run, but they were captured. Despenser was executed publicly in a brutal punishment that symbolized the hatred people had for him. Edward II, once the King of England, was taken to a remote prison. He had lost everything, his power, his allies, and his kingdom. Now England was ruled by Isabella and Mortimer. But as long as Edward lived, he remained a threat. A living king could always become a symbol for rebellion. And Isabella knew that her new power was fragile. Several months later, news spread that Edward II had died in captivity. The official statement claimed that he died from natural causes after refusing food and growing weak. But very few believed this story. A victim who fought back against humiliation and betrayal? Or was she simply a woman in a world where only the ruthless survived? History still debates these questions. But one thing is certain. Isabella of France changed England forever. And the world will always remember her as the queen who may have ordered the murder of her own king.